Hello, I just want to go over the use of the future tense from last Friday's test. Um, Looking at it, there's a few challenges I put in there for you. But the first part was relatively straightforward from the standpoint of just translating into Greek on the basis of what you know in respect to, let's take just luo. Basically, as you know, in the future adds a sigma to the present tense. In basically with luo. Now, we are being introduced now to a new term in the sense that there's a difference between a present stem and a verbal stem. And really the rule that you need to know is that the present stem and the imperfect stem are invariably the same, but the future will follow the verbal stem. As we know from some of these verbs that we looked at. For example, I reveal. Apocalypso is I will reveal. And the verbal stem on it ends in a what? It ends in a tau, in a pi, and therefore its future does not follow the present stem, and then you have that pattern. And the best thing I can suggest to you is that you simply learn it off. In other words, kappa gamma chi plus sigma equals psi, and pi beta phi plus sigma equals psi, and then tau delta theta plus sigma. The consonants drop out. I just basically learn it off by heart. That's how I do it, so that when I come across it, for example, I will hide crypto, and the verbal stem ends in a pi, so therefore in the future it's going to be a psi, crypso. Likewise, he will proclaim, keruso, the verbal stem ends in a kappa, so it will follow that pattern where it will be a psi. Kerukse, it's third person. The third person endings follow those of luo, so it'd be kerukse. Then a straightforward poieo. The eo verbs end with their stem ending in the epsilon. It's lengthened to an eta for the most part, except for one verb that basically we'll come across very shortly. Poiese. The eta then replaces the epsilon in the future sense. And then I will baptize. There's a dental that's in the stem, baptid, and so therefore it drops out, and so it's baptizo. And likewise doxazo, doxaso. And then you will cry out from kradzo, which is ends in a gamma. So according to then the pattern will follow the first one will be kradzo, and then he will be, just learn off the future of the verb to be, este. He will seek, zeteo, it's an eo verb. Then we will seek is ze te somen, just again following the endings of luo in the present tense, it's first person plural, and they will keep te resusen. In other words, then you lengthen the epsilon to eta, and you put the sigma in, and then follow the endings of luo for third person plural. So those then are the basic formation of the future tense of practicing with verbs from the standpoint of adding then the sigma to luo, or in a way of understanding that the present tense and the future tense are the same when it comes to verbs with luo, but the verbal stem is the present stem, I should say, is the key to it, because the future will follow the present stem, and then the sigma will be added to the present stem. So the key then is to recognize the difference between a verbal and the present stem. But I want to say this to you, that by this stage you're recognizing verbs. And so one of the things that's good about Greek is that you're able to crack open the code when you see it, because although you'll be relying on your memory in respect to how this works in terms of what the future tense is and what the present tense is, luo, lues, lue, luso, luses, luce, etc., you can work it backwards by just looking at the word, because the word itself will give you the clues that's necessary, providing you know the difference between the present and the verbal stem, and also the fact that the future takes a sigma in its ending. So when you see a sigma at the end, or a consonant like a psi or a psi, then you'll know that you'll guess initially that it's going to be future tense, and you can try it from there. That's the best way, I think, to do it, because the codes are already there. You're looking for a sigma at the end of the verbal stem, because that's what's going to be added to the verbal stem to make it into the future tense. And then the sentences that I gave you, kaleseis de to paidion petron, de particle which is never put at the beginning of a sentence, and what now here's the one verb that I can think of where, when it's lengthened, kaleo, to call, I call, when you lengthen it into the future, instead of the epsilon becoming an eta, it stays as it is. Now if I had a long time, I could probably tell you why that developed through time, but I don't, and the best way to do it is just to remember that kaleo, when it's in the future, it stays with an epsilon in the future form. So kaleseis is second person singular. You will call. Now to paidion, child, second declension neuter noun. It can either be subject or object, couldn't it? Because to paidion is accusative and nominative. But it doesn't fit with being a subject, because the subject here is you, from the verbal form, ace there. So you will call, so then you try it as the object. You will call, that makes sense, the child. And then there's the name Peter, Petros, which is a second declension masculine noun, which also has the accusative ending, so therefore it's in opposition to paidion, so it's, and you will call the child Peter. The second sentence, a much longer sentence, pempso pros autus sophus kai prophetes al uk accususin autun huioi Israel. Pempo is I send, so with the formula that we looked at, the pi beta theta phi plus sigma equals psi, so therefore it's going to be I will send, first person singular, future active tense of Pempo. I will send, literally, his, what have you got, pros as an accusative, which take, pros, a preposition which takes the accusative, so you have a personal pronoun there. I will send towards, now here's the personal pronoun autus, accusative masculine plural, so it will be not him but them. If it was autas, it would be feminine, be women, but here in this case it's general. I will send towards them. I will send them. Essentially, pros autus sophus kai prophetas functions as your object, because you can see that the personal pronoun and the nouns that are associated with it, the adjective that functions of a noun, are all put in the accusative case, so it must be the object. So I will send them, and then what? I will send them wise. Now that sophos is an adjective that follows agathos, agathe, agathon. So it's be literally, I suppose you would say, if you did literally, you could say wise men, because it's an adjective that's functioning as a noun. So I will send them wise men and prophets, prophetess, first declension, masculine noun ending in ace, prophetess, and so forth. So I will send them wise men and prophets, Allah, but here then joined with a vowel, so it drops the alpha. But now akuo, acoustic, obviously, I hear and so on. Here this is straightforward future, but they will not. Notice they, it's akusin, so it's third person plural. They will not. Notice the sigma that's in there. That's what I mean, where if you know the general, just basic verbs at this point of akuo, when you see the sigma in there, you know it's going to be future. And so in here, obviously the verbal stem and the present stem are exactly the same. So, but they will not hear them. There's the personal pronoun again. This was a bit difficult in the sense that you don't know at this point that akuo takes the genitive, which is why it's auton and not autois. But even without that, then you would see what that the question then is where does the last phrase fit? Hoi huioi Israel. Well, it's not accusative plural, it's nominative plural, so therefore it must be the subject, and it makes sense because huioi, from huios, second declension masculine noun ending in os. Israel is a noun that's indeclinable, it's always the same. So it's it's a nominative plural, and therefore it must be the subject. So but they will not hear them. Literally, this is what it is if I just translate it literally. But not they will hear them, the sons, Israel. So it's now put it into English in the sense that we've got a plural subject that's in the verb form. You look over and you see that the phrase hoi, huioi Israel is also it's in the nominative plural forms, which then must mean that it's the subject of the verb, because the verb's in the plural form. So the sons of Israel, they will not hear them. Don't forget in Greek, what makes it more complicated is that there's no word order like in English, where if you say the dog hits the man, and then you change the word order, the man hits the dog, you change the meaning of the sentence. That's not true in Greek, because the words are put in whatever form that the author decides. Usually important words are stashed up the front, or frequently I should say. But in this case what you do is you work it out according to the form of the word that you're dealing with. So then when you look at akususin, and you know that it's they will hear, then the question is who will hear? Well, the nominative nature of huios, or huioi, is this must be the subject. So the sons of Israel, or the sons of Israel, will not hear them. All right? And then the final one, which is hoi de ta hamatia en jususin tas kreas, keras, excuse me, I always get kreas and kree and kera mixed up. The latter means widow and the former means need. They're very close to me. So here, of course, de again is a particle. It's never put for the first part of the sentence. So what we have here is the article plus de, which is very common in Greek. I can think of Mark 16:6, which ho de lege autas, which, and he says to them, this is Jesus speaking to the women at the tomb, I guess it's the angel that's speaking to them at the tomb in Mark 16. Well, it's similar here. What you have is the article plus der, which equals the third person pronoun, and what? And he then, third person pronoun, nominative masculine, he, or in this case, not he, but they, and how do I know it's they? Because it's not hos as a personal pronoun. It's nominative masculine plural hoi, and it's masculine. And then you look at the verb enduo, which is in the future tense, third person plural, endususin. So it must then this corresponds to the plurality of the verb. So, and they will put on, what? Tachimation is a garment or clothes. Second declension neuter noun, and you can see here it's going to be either nominative or it's going to be accusative. Well, it can't be. I suppose you could test it as being nominative because the verb itself is plural. But that would contradict also with the hoi der, where you've got third person pronoun there that itself is plural and it's masculine. So therefore then you try it as an accusative, and they will put on what? Well, the clothes. And then notice that hekera is a straightforward first declension feminine noun ending in alpha, and here it's accusative feminine plural, so therefore it must be the object. Okay, so then notice then, if it's the object, then that also matches hamartia, which we've said is also an object. So, and they will put on what? They will put on clothes on the widows, and they will put clothes on the widows. All right. It's getting more complex now, I recognize that, especially with the verbal structure, but we've covered the nouns, and now our job is to cover all the forms of the verb, of which is of course what we're doing this week. So I'll be in touch with you, and I hope that helps on what we've looked at today. Thank you.